Have you ever wondered how long it takes to harvest a field spanning hundreds of acres? A week? Or maybe even an entire month? In reality, there are places where farmers can harvest thousands of tons of produce in just a few hours. So how does this massive harvesting process unfold? Let's explore it together in today's video. Watermelon is one of the most popular fruits in the world, with consumption reaching up to 104 million tons. Behind that enormous figure are fields where the harvest season runs almost without pause. Under the blazing sun, farmers walk between rows of melons, selecting ripe ones and cutting the stems. Then, the melons are passed hand to hand amongst the workers, each fruit lifted one by one onto the trunk, where someone stands ready to catch and neatly stack them in layers. In recent years, many farms have begun using mobile conveyor belts. Pickers simply place the melons on the belt and it automatically carries them up to the trunk. Thanks to this, the harvesting process becomes faster and more efficient. From afar, this giant machine looks as if it's devouring the entire cucumber field. At the front, the system pulls in all the vines and lush green cucumbers. In just seconds, the cucumbers are separated from the plant and immediately pass through an onboard cleaning system, before going into the storage compartment. Afterwards, continuous streams of cucumbers are transferred to large containers running parallel across the field, creating an almost non-stop harvesting line. Thanks to such modern machines, global cucumber production is projected to reach around 100 million tons by 2026. The next location is the vast maple forests, where people collect tree sap to make maple syrup. The harvest season typically begins from mid-February to mid-March. During this precious window, farmers drill a small hole in the maple tree trunk to a depth of around 1.5 to 2 inches. Then they attach a small spout to the hole and hang a bucket to catch the clear sap flowing from the tree. Each such tap can yield 5 to 15 gallons per sap per season. Since most of it is water, the sap must be boiled for hours to evaporate the water, and it takes around 43 gallons of sap to produce just 1 gallon of concentrated maple syrup. Amidst the dense green canopy in American mandarin orchards, shiny, plump mandarins gradually appear, signaling the start of the harvest season. Mandarin pickers move quickly along the rows of trees, their hands working almost non-stop. They select the best fruits, gently twist them off the branch, or use clippers to cut the stem. Then they drop the picked mandarins into baskets worn at their sides. When the basket is full, it's carried to a collection point in the orchard and emptied into large bins, ready for the next transport step. Behind this rapid harvesting rhythm are thousands of migrant workers. They are often paid around $50 per bin of mandarins. The more they pick, the higher their earnings. The next product is honey. To access the full honeycombs, beekeepers must first use a smoker to gently blow smoke, encouraging the bees to leave the frames. Once the hive is calmer, they carefully remove each wooden frame filled with honey, avoiding damage to the wax structure. Next, the honey frames are placed into a centrifuge, where strong spinning forces separate the honey from the wax. Streams of golden, thick honey flow downward. Then they are filtered through sieves to remove impurities before bottling. Thanks to this process, honey from these tiny hives has become a global industry, with a market of 2025 valued at around $9.92 billion. Also in 2025, global cabbage production reached nearly 80 million tonnes. To harvest that enormous volume, many modern farms rely on machines that operate almost without stopping. As fast as it moves, the cutting blade at the front severs the cabbage at ground level. Immediately after, fast clamping conveyors lift each cabbage plant out of the soil and feed it into the machine's body. As the cabbage passes through the processing system, outer old leaves are stripped by rotating rollers and pushed back onto the field. The cleaner cabbage continues up an inclined conveyor. From there, it is transferred directly into large containers. Apple cider production today has also been mechanised. The UK is currently the world's largest cider market, with more than 450 producers operating daily. In the orchard, the mechanical arm of the tree shaker grips the trunk tightly and creates strong vibrations. In just seconds, numerous ripe apples drop to the ground. Immediately after, the apple harvester moves along the rows. The front component sweeps and collects the apples on the ground, feeding them into the machine. Here, the apples go through a cleaning conveyor to remove excess leaves and branches, before the apples are finally transferred into large bins for transport to the processing facility. Dragon fruit is now a globally favoured fruit, with a market worth of around $680 million. This is largely thanks to its health benefits and rising demand for tropical fruits. To harvest them, farmers go to the orchard early in the morning or in the cool afternoon, when the sun is not too harsh, to prevent the fruit from losing water quickly. They use clippers to gently cut the stem of each ripe red dragon fruit, handling carefully to avoid breaking the fruit's distinctive ears. Each fruit after picking is placed directly into a basket, neatly arranged to avoid bruising. When the basket is full, it is moved to a shaded area by the field, waiting for buyers to collect and bring the fresh, delicious dragon fruit to market. Meanwhile, some crops are grown in enclosed rooms, such as mushrooms. Inside mushroom houses, long shelves are filled with substrate bags. After a period of cultivation, dense clusters of white mushrooms begin to emerge. When harvest day arrives, the work proceeds quite quickly. Workers simply gently remove each cluster of mushrooms from the substrate bag and carefully handle them to preserve shape and freshness. Immediately after, the mushrooms are transferred directly to the processing area in the facility, where they are cleaned, sorted, packaged, and sold to the market. In the past year, global mushroom consumption has reached over 19 million tons. In the vibrant tulip fields of the Netherlands, there's a rather surprising sight. Hundreds of beautiful flowers are cut off in just a few minutes. Sharp blades at the front of the machine glide across the field, cutting off all of the flower tops. This may sound wasteful, but in reality, it helps the plant to channel all of its energy into the most important part, the bulb underground. By summer, digging machines begin operating. They lift the tulip bulbs from the soil, collect them, and take them for sorting. These flower bulbs are then stored and prepared for the next planting season in autumn. Thanks to this process, the Netherlands currently supplies around 60 to 90% of the world's tulip bulbs. Our next location is the garlic fields of China. This country produces more than 70% of the world's garlic. Behind that huge figure are thousands of hours of operation by millions of harvesting machines. When the machine operates, a small plough runs underground to loosen the soil around the garlic roots and sever the side roots. Immediately after, they are clamped by conveyors to a shaking system to shake off the excess soil clinging to the bulbs. Next, the garlic passes through a cutting system, where the upper leaves are neatly trimmed. Finally, the clean bulbs are transferred directly into large containers, ready for processing. Besides garlic, lettuce is also a popular vegetable worldwide, grown in more than 106 countries. In the fields, the harvest proceeds at a very fast pace. Workers bend down to neatly cut off each head of lettuce, then place them directly onto a conveyor belt, moving slowly between the rows. From there, the lettuce heads continue drifting along the line. Other workers stationed along the conveyor quickly sort and arrange them neatly. In just a few minutes, the lettuce is packaged right in the field. Today's farmers also use machines to harvest sunflower seeds. But before the machines work, they must wait until the flower heads are fully ripe and dry. One flower can contain up to 500 seeds. When the flowers are dry, the harvester begins operating. At the front are specialized cutting heads with 8 parallel rows, gliding lightly over the chest-high flower rows. In just seconds, the seed-filled flower heads are neatly cut and fed into the machine. Here, the sunflower seeds are separated from the head and then quickly flow into the transport system. Finally, all the seeds are delivered to large capacity containers. The next product is spinach. Each year, the world produces around 34 million tonnes of spinach. In the fields, the harvest begins when specialised machines enter the rows. At the front of the machine is a wide cutting blade placed close to the ground, cleanly cutting the green leaves just above the root. This cutting method allows a quick harvest without bruising or collecting too much soil and sand. Right after cutting, the spinach slides onto the conveyor system mounted on the machine. From here, a strong airflow blows the spinach through the discharge tube, pushing it to the rear container. In the world's total vegetable production, sweet potatoes account for a significant portion. Each year, the world produces more than 100 million tonnes of sweet potatoes. To meet market demand, many large farm owners have switched from using harvesting machines. This machine has a hard steel plough blade that slips under the soil row. This plough gently lifts the entire layer of soil along the sweet potato tubers, avoiding cuts or scratches to the skin. While the conveyor moves, the vines are removed, and the sweet potato tubers continue moving upwards. Finally, the qualified tubers are delivered into containers for sale and processing.